what I want to touch into a what might be a controversial topic with these movies, but I want to talk about the Blumhouse trilogy. It's at the moment it's kind of a divisive trilogy among fans. Never really understood why, honestly. I feel like out of all the movies that we've gotten in this franchise, out of all the all the batshit concepts that we've gotten, I feel like these movies got it right. I feel like these movies uh, actually understood what John Carpenter was going for with the original Halloween. And these movies nailed Michael Myers as a character, in my opinion. I think they actually understood what he was meant to be. He's not meant to be some guy who kills because magic stars or whatever. He's not some guy that's fixated on killing his family. He is the boogeyman. He is an enigma, a force of nature that just can't be understood, an otherworldly presence that just shatters the world around him, a mystery, a sheer mystery. And that is what truly makes him a scary character, what separates him from most slasher villains. Um it's the compelling aspect about Myers is that he's pure evil, and that why is he evil? Well, you don't know. There really is no reason for what he does. He just does it, and that is what makes him such a frightening character. So I want to dive in on that and why I think this trilogy got it right. So, first I'm going to talk about the other sequels. Now, I like a lot of the other sequels as well. I like Halloween 2. I like Halloween 4, I like them. They're still enjoyable Halloween movies. Even though I'm not a big fan of the whole sibling angle with Michael Myers. I still enjoy these movies for what they are. And H2O, I like H2O as well. I feel like H2O is not one of the better sequels though, because while I do like a lot, I do think it's a nice conclusion, a wrap up to the franchise, or what could have been a wrap up to the franchise. It does have its problems. It's a very flawed movie, like lots of problems. For one, most of the movie feels more of a Scream movie than a Halloween movie, at least till the final half. Especially with it using music from the Scream movies. And the fact that it has Scream 2 playing in it, which makes no sense when you watch the first Scream movie. Um, and again, I don't like how I've never been a fan of how Michael Myers looked in H2O. I really don't like the mask in that movie. I think it looks comical. Um, and of course, there's the the infamous CGI mask that they use, which, yeah, that was pretty bad. And then the Thorn trilogy, like I said, the Thorn trilogy is the most jarring timeline of them all. It's just so weird what they did with, we got such weird iterations with Michael in this one. Like him being a part of a cult and the incest plot. Oh yeah, that's fun. We love incest, right? No, we fucking don't. Um, yeah, that one is probably the more uncomfortable parts of Halloween to sit through. I mean, I know it's Michael Myers. He's not meant to be, he's meant to be a depraved character, and he's not meant to be sympathetic. But making him this guy who knocked up his niece it just it just doesn't sit right with me. I know he's an evil. I know Michael Myers is meant to be an evil monster, but still, it just I don't like this whole incest thing. I really don't like it. It's just really uncomfortable, especially knowing that Jamie was 15 when it happened. Anyway, so moving on. So when Halloween 2018 was announced, I'm gonna stutter a lot in this video. I apologize for that. I'm not the best at giving lengthy speeches, as you could probably tell with how many pauses I do every now and then and how much I stutter. I'm not the best, so bear with me, but I do try. I do try. I have. I hate how wet my lips get when I talk to. But like I said, I'm not very good at giving speeches, but I'll give it my best shot with this one. But anyway, so when Halloween 2018 came out, I was very excited for that movie. I was excited. Um, and I watched it in theaters, and that is an unforgettable experience for me because it was the first Halloween movie I ever watched in theaters, and it was just a legendary experience for me. It was just so much fun. It's a memory I'd love to relive. Being in there in the theater, hyped as hell, with a crowd that was also extremely hyped. It was just awesome. It was an awesome experience. One of my favorite theater experiences ever. Um, and I was really happy with Halloween 2018. I loved it. I thought this was the new life that this franchise desperately needed after it ended on such a bad note, with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which, I appreciate that movie tried something different, but that movie is just unpleasant to watch, mainly because of Rob Zombie's characters. They're just so unlikable. They're such horrible people. It is hard to sympathize with anyone in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies because they're all such degenerates in that movie. Uh, Ironically, Michael somehow became the most sympathetic character in these movies, even though he's meant to be the evilest one, and yet, uh, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, Halloween 2018. I was very satisfied with that movie. I loved it when it came out. And, when I heard that there was going to be a trilogy, I was excited for that. I was like, hey, are we finally going to get a cohesive trilogy this time? Are we actually going to get something, great in here? Are we going to get, is it going to be actually good, or is it going to be fumbled like Resurrection was? I was cautiously optimistic. I was hyped. I was like, you know what? I think they have the right idea. I think David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, they really know what they're doing, as evidenced with Halloween 2018. So I have faith in them that this will be a good trilogy. So, I waited. Obviously there was a pandemic and whatnot with Kills. And then, Kills came out. Now, when Halloween Kills came out at first, I did have some mixed feelings about it when I first watched it. I liked it, but I was a little conflicted with it. But upon rewatch, I loved it. I learned to love it a lot more. When I rewatched it, and I really liked it. I really grown to like it now. Now, Halloween 2018 was a solid, like I said, a solid reintroduction to this franchise. Much needed new life. You know, abandoning the whole sibling angle. That was a perfect choice in my opinion because that was never meant to be a thing in the original Halloween movie. Laurie being Michael's sister. That was never the part of the plan. Carpenter himself admitted that that he threw that in at the last minute, while he was drunk, and he's even admitted that it was a terrible idea that he regrets because it definitely changed the course of the franchise, and it gave us a lot of weird iterations of Michael, made him too human at times, and Michael's just not he's just not an effective character when you make him too sympathetic or you give him motivations. Michael is at his scariest when he's inhuman, when he's this n- hard to comprehend character, this scary. He's like a hurricane that you don't understand. That is what he's meant to be. So yeah, Halloween Kills. Now I loved what Kills did with Michael in this movie, and it goes on with what I love about pure evil villains. Now, what I love about pure evil villains, aside from the villains themselves, one thing I really love about villains like these is how they affect the people around them, how they affect the world around them, how the characters respond to their depraved actions. That's one thing I've always loved about purely evil villains is how the other characters, how the protagonists react and respond to their actions, how it affects them. And I think Halloween Kills does a wonderful job at exploring that. How Michael's actions, how his malice affects this whole town. How it turns everyone into these violent maniacs who want to deliver vigilante justice. It turns the whole town upside down, and seeing it all collapse, it's wonderful. Like it's so cool to see. It's such an emotional movie because it's not just some guy killing people. This it's this evil man that's turning this whole town, this corrupting this whole town. Michael is like this evil virus that is influencing a whole town and burning, destroying it within itself. And it was great to see. I loved Kills, honestly. It's such a fun movie, and I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack, one thing that no one can deny about this trilogy, even the people that don't really like it, The soundtrack is excellent. I mean, it should be no surprise. John Carpenter returned to compose it, which is fucking great. It was a great choice to bring him back because you really can't. You really can't have a Halloween movie without him. Honestly, a true Halloween movie. Um, it just isn't quite authentically Halloween if you don't have Carpenter in it. But the soundtrack, oh my gosh, the soundtrack in all three movies is phenomenal. It's really good. uh, some of the best soundtrack, honestly, I've heard in modern horror movies. Honestly, if not my favorite, it's really good. I love the Shape Stocks Allison from from the 2018 movie. I love the intro music for the opening scene of Halloween Kills. It's very haunting and atmospheric, and I love the Halloween Ends soundtrack as well. I love the music they use for the final fight. This soundtrack is amazing. It's so good, and Carpenter not only brought back his classic music, but transformed it into this new tone, expanded upon it, made it into this this horrifying you know themes, this score that fits very well with with this new trilogy. But anyway, going on. So Kills. I had mixed. I admittedly I was a little mixed on it at first, but I grew to love it. Really love it later. And then came Halloween Ends. Now, Halloween Ends. Oh boy, this is the one that often gets the most flack. Admittedly, like this is by far the most controversial one. Um, I think people really, 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 really exaggerate how much they hate this movie, and I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, calling it the worst Halloween movie is the most unfair critique this movie could get. You don't have to like this movie. I know there's plenty of people that don't. Um, but I really like it, honestly. I don't think it's the best for a overall final movie. It works the best as a final movie, but it's still a satisfying conclusion, and I still really love it. Now, like I said, not everyone. I could understand the problems that people have with this movie. Corey. You know, being introduced to this new random character that we never saw before. Corey Cunningham, and I really like this character, by the way. I really liked Corey. Um, I could get it. I get it that having to follow the journey of this new character that we just got introduced to now. I could see why people critiqued it as much as they did, and I could see why people have problems with it. And Michael being sidelined, I know, I get it. But in my opinion, Halloween Ends. You might hate me for this. You could say whatever you want to me in the comment section if you want. You could say how much you despise me or how you want to burn me at a cross, whatever. But in my opinion, Halloween Ends is by far my favorite Halloween sequel. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Go. Get your shotguns ready. Get your Reddit KYS is ready. I'm ready to be spammed with those comments. I don't care. But yeah, I love Halloween Ends. I think the way it explores the idea of evil never dies, but it changes shape. I love that about it. I love its themes. I love again, this trilogy was all about exploring evil and how it affects the world around it. That is what this trilogy was about. You know, Halloween 2018. Everyone, everyone but Laurie seemed like it was no big deal. Everyone acted like Michael being this. Everyone just considered him just this random serial killer that was no big deal, right? And then Michael got escaped and he pretty much turned the whole town. Like I said, he turned the whole town upside down, and by Kills, it became clear that he was more than just a man in a mask to this town. He was something far more, sinister, something far more frightening that just can't be comprehended by the common man. And by Halloween Ends, we see the aftermath of that. We see the effects that it had on the whole town. We see that Haddonfield by this point has been so badly corrupted, so badly damaged by Michael's malice that it's no longer the same peaceful town that it once was, because now everyone is so badly affected. Everyone wants a new boogeyman. Everyone targets someone new, looks for a new boogeyman after what Michael did, and that enter Corey Cunningham. So he murders his own. He murders a kid that he was babysitting, and now the town wants to consider him the next boogeyman. And initially he doesn't want to be that, but upon meeting with Michael and upon, being treated horribly within his everyday life, eventually the town makes him the boogeyman. The town needed a boogeyman again after Michael Myers disappeared, so they made Corey consequently the next boogeyman for the next shape. And I think Corey was a great, shape, the shape, great shape, great the shape. How do you say it? Well, anyway, I really loved Corey Cunningham. I loved his exploration of a character. I love that he was this sort of symbolism for the idea of how evil changes shape. It kind of dives into what Halloween 4, which is ending, did with Jamie becoming the killer, or would be killer. It explores that idea of what would happen. Something that Halloween 5 never followed up on, but uh, but yeah, I really, I really love the themes of Halloween Ends and the character study that it explores. I know people have problems with it because of how it sidelines Michael and Laurie, and they just kind of feel shafted. But I do like it as a conclusion. Honestly, it works for me, and I really love. I like the final fight between Michael and Laurie. I think it's a very climactic fight. It's not the most exciting or thrilling endgame, crazy, explosive finale that people expected, but it still works. And I love that they actually kill Michael for good this time. They don't just do a stupid cop out. He doesn't switch with a paramedic. He wasn't Michael's twin brother or something. This was the definitive end, and I like that Laurie actually survived this trilogy. It's a change up from the H2O timeline, which Resurrection. We all know what that shit did. Um, but Halloween Ends, like I said. I know that not everyone likes it, but I love it because I think it did a. I think it understood the core themes of the original Halloween movie well. Like the idea of evil, the idea that anyone could be the shape, that anyone could snap one day, anyone could be Michael Myers, anyone could be the embodiment of pure evil one day. That guy you see out there selling corn dogs could be the next killer. He could be the next boogeyman. Anyone could be affected by it, and I think Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends explores that well. It shows us how this could happen through Corey. And while I do wish that Corey didn't die, maybe I think that was one problem, just killing him off. Maybe have him like survive or something. Um, like I said, I do have a couple gripes with Halloween Ends, but they're not that huge. It still remains my favorite sequel of the whole series. I really think that Halloween Ends is going to be one of those movies that wasn't really appreciated when it first came out, but people will learn to love it more over time. I'm already seeing people uh looking back on the movie and learning to appreciate it more, which it's nice to see. I feel like in the future we will get more videos explaining why Halloween Ends is this underrated masterpiece. People changing their minds, but I want to go down as one of those people who loved it from the start. I loved it from when I first watched it. Is it a perfect movie? Hell no, but it works for me. It really does. And while it's not the most, like I said, while it's not the most super climactic finale, it's still a satisfying conclusion. And it actually gave us a proper conclusion. We actually got a trilogy that ended, had a beginning and an end. Not like the Thorn trilogy, which kind of just fumbled and made its own weird choices, and then Resurrection, which, like I said, the H2O timeline just got completely ruined by Resurrection. And that movie ended up being a franchise killer. But yeah, people who say Halloween Ends is the worst Halloween movie, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but to me, that I feel like that's just a huge exaggeration. I just don't see how this movie could be worse than something like Resurrection, which doesn't even try anything. It just, after Laurie dies in Resurrection, it just becomes just stupid gimmick. This thing off of a Blair Witch Project trend, and Michael is just kind of a joke in that movie. So again, I just don't understand why people just absolutely loathe this movie so much as they do. Maybe it's recency hype. I don't know what it is. I'll never understand it. But for what it is, I love Halloween Ends, and I love it now. I loved it then, and I will continue to love it. And like I said, I love this whole trilogy. I loved that we got a trilogy that understood Michael as a character, and I love that we got a conclusion with Laurie Strode as a character. I liked it. I liked all of it, and I even liked the bits that we got with Doctor Loomis and Halloween Kills. Um, it is weird at times. The line delivery obviously doesn't completely sound like Donald Pleasance, but it still works for me. I really like those flashbacks. But yeah, that was my insight on this trilogy. Now, not everyone has to agree with me. Obviously, not everyone will, and I'm not gonna force this opinion down your throat and say, "Hey, you need to agree with me because I'm right." Ultimately, film is subjective, and we all know it. Uh, you know, this is just my thoughts and what I think of this trilogy, and like I said, I loved it. Not everyone does, but some people will agree, some people won't, and that's fine. That's what it's all about. Ultimately, this is just discussion. I love having discussions about film because I've always loved movies, and I love horror movies, so I always love talking about movies like these. And yeah, anyway, this has been my Blumhouse Trilogy discussion. And I look forward to what future this franchise awaits with. I heard it has a TV series coming up. We'll see how that goes. I don't know what direction they'll go. If they're gonna pick off after Ends, I would definitely suggest having a brand new killer, especially since Michael Myers is dead now in this timeline. So it'd be interesting what direction they go. Maybe have Allison be a main character. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I've been Cosmic. I shall see you all later.